prance about in front of the class. I've kind of tailored this to people who maybe aren't as confident, and it's kind of so you would have to do less in terms of dancing around and more focus on students coming up with things themselves. The first thing that I think is really important I do when I teach dance is looking at action, space, dynamics and relationships, and the kind of all the schemes of work that we do, we base around those 4 things. So your actions are what you're doing, space, where you're doing it, dynamics, how you're doing it, and relationships, who you're doing it with or what, because sometimes you can have props and things like that. Initial ideas, lots of people do things like thriller, quite popular with lads. A lot of people do hacker as well. Have you had any ideas of what you're going to be doing in schools yet?
No, nobody's really like stand-down checks. None of the modules, nobody's doing it at the moment. So I think when it comes round, obviously they'll give us a bit more information about what they do. But I don't know about you.
No, we haven't touched on dance at all. Or
no.
Gymnastics.
I've done some gymnastics, I've not done any dance yet, but I spoke to one of the guys that trained a couple of years ago, and they said they did the hacker with their year 7 and 8 groups with the lads. So
yeah,
you give me some lesson plans for that.
I think they seem to really enjoy the hacker, and there's lots of resources for that. We do Soldier Boy with year 7 boys, which I quite like. You're familiar with that? Yeah. We basically teach them the dance that they do in the video, and as like a set dance, and then they'll go away in the groups and develop it, action, space, dynamics, relationships. We also do a little bit of a fight scene in there. However, they're not allowed to have any contact with each other. It's all based around action reaction, which is basically if one person does an action, how the other person responds to that. Because we didn't just want them a mass brawl, so they weren't allowed to touch, actually contact each other or anything. In terms of resources, I've got one book that's really good. I'm just going to share my screen so you can see it. Sorry, my computer's messing up a little bit. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
All right, great. So this book, Dance Improvisations by Justine Reed, is really, really good. It's kind of, some of the warm-ups that I've been using there have actually then gone on to kind of develop a whole scheme of work. It's based mainly around contemporary dance, but it can be used for anything really. For things like street dance, or anything really, we do something called jigsaw learning, where students will work in groups of about 4, and they'll each come up with a little bit of a dance each. So you could say 4 counts or 4 actions, and then they'll come up with those 4, then someone else will come up with another 4, and they kind of add them up, gives them kind of like a basic motif to work from. A motif is just a series of actions in a dance. So we use that kind of dance terminology quite a lot. I don't know if it's in pairs or in your groups, and then once they've kind of got the actions down, we could look at how to develop space. So when you're looking at space, it could be different levels. So how if some people are doing high actions, some people are doing low actions. It could be direction that people are facing, and to get students to develop kind of the use of space, I've used coloured bits of card. So I'd put like a yellow bit on one wall, blue on another on the back, and then whatever other colour on the other wall. And then they'd come up with a pattern. I'd have to maybe select 6 different colours, or 6 of the colours, sorry, and they could go to the blue wall twice, the yellow wall once, the orange wall, and then the red wall twice. So they'll have to make sure that they're changing the way that the face makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing that you can do with space and kind of looking at how they use it, because often they'll just go back and forward in lines, is, I don't know if you have mini whiteboards or even a sheet of A4 paper would be fine, getting them to draw a map of the dance or a peer assessment tool. You could have them standing with a bit of paper and a pen basically on there and drawing where they're doing the dance to see how much of the space they're using. Obviously it depends on where you're working. If you're in a gym, it's probably going to be a bit more room than in a dance studio or a drama hall. But if they are doing peer assessment and group work, you could get them doing it like 4 at a time, so it's got more space. In terms of your dynamics, lots of people, when you speak about dynamics, will just think about fast and slow. I'll just share my screen again. I'll show you a resource that I've sent in the pack that's I find really useful. It's off the test website. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
So, so all your actions are on there. Your space, like I said before, working in lines a lot. Your dynamics is where people often struggle. So, I apologise, my computer is a bit slow. Lots of people just say fast and slow. However, as you can see, there's loads on there. What I've done with dynamics is, and they'll come and kind of pick a dynamic out of there, or a few, and then go away in the group and they kind of have to perform those movements using those dynamics. Another thing as well, sorry, just 1 second. Sorry about that. Someone was just trying to come in and use the room, but we're sorted. Yeah, dynamics. When you are using different music for your dance, if you change from like a fast song to quite a slow song, they'll automatically kind of change the way that they're performing things. So I think it's quite useful to do that every now and then. Another thing with regards to music, add anything that's currently in the charts or that they're going to get distracted and sing along to. I'd use something maybe a little bit older or something you might not have heard before. If you're looking at something like Thriller or The Hacker as well, I wouldn't always look at using those songs. So yes, you could use them in the final performance, but when they're kind of developing things in the group and stuff, I'd get them to use different songs as well. Right, I'll stop scrolling. I'm trying to think of anything else. You got any questions?
In terms of the hacker, would you just show them the performance on a big screen and then split them into groups, or would you do them as a large group, like an actual? Does that make sense? Would you split them into like 2s and 3s and get them to do their own version of it, or?
I think you could do both. I think it's often quite nice to have them working on their own and then coming in together to do the group piece, or starting off with the group piece and then going away. But I think it does work quite well. You can do a bit of both, because then you can get them to look at things like relationships, where they can use canon. So one could go after the other. They could have some people doing a high level type action and some people doing a low action, where they couldn't really do that in a group. So I think having a bit of both.
So would you teach that step, or would you just show them the video a couple of times, like an example of it, and then let them go away and work with it, or would you do it like?
I think you'd have to do it step by step. You wouldn't have to do exactly what's on the video either. If you want to kind of simplify it or take actions from it, you could do that and have that as your group bit and maybe just repeat it a few times, and then they could go away and do their own.
Right.
Just, I think a lot of people kind of get caught up with trying to just copy things exactly from videos or whatever, and it can often make it quite hard for them and hard for you.
Yeah.
I tried to do single ladies once, but it didn't work that well.
What would be your top tips for an unconfident PE teacher of dance?
I would say doing something like the jigsaw thing that I spoke about before, getting students to come up with something themselves. Yes, you could give them an idea, so you could say, we're going to look at street dance, or we're going to look at, we do Lindy Hop, which we show they'll come up with things like lots of kicks, there's lots of like stepping and clapping, and they kind of come up with the content themselves, and then you kind of just guide them through how to develop it. So you could start off with looking at actions. Sorry, just one moment. Sorry, so looking at the actions, you could even use that sheet that I showed you and get them to pick 3 or 4 actions off there and put them together. And then basically the next week you could get them to recap that. You could now say, right, now we're going to think about space, how are you going to use the space that you're working in. You could look at in your group, so you're going to have formations. Are you going to change the way that you're facing? Are you going to change your formations? How are you going to do that? And then you can link in your actions again with actions of how to get to certain places. Then basically kind of taking you through a scheme of work. The next week I'd look at your dynamics, so you could do like the pick and mix bags, or even using the sheet again. We have a projector where we teach dance, so we kind of just have that up and they can go and pick things, or you could even get them to come up with ideas and kind of write it on the board. Then go on into develop the relationships. So I'll just show you that sheet again. So whether they want to have we've got a skills direct trainee in this year, and he's doing a scheme of work based around heroes, superheroes, sorry, so it's kind of like a Marvel comic type thing. And he, in his first lesson, kind of had everyone kind of introducing who they are, what superhero they are, and what actions kind of relate to that person. So if it was Spider-Man, they were doing like that thing where the web shoots out of his wrist, or Superman kind of fly in action, and they would have their own little solo bit. Like I said before, having your sections when you were talking about the hacker, going away, working in your group, that's including your relationships. You could look at things like mirroring, so when they're working alongside each other, they won't be doing, one person will be doing right hand, the other person will be doing left, because they should be facing each other when you're doing that, if that makes sense. And then you've got so much scope in dance for doing things like your peer assessment. It's great for that. If you get a lesson observation, you can really show AFL really easily in dance. Whether you have iPads or some kind of tablet they can record themselves on and then watch themselves for self-assessment, or watching a peer do it. I think dance really lends itself to that.
Next question.
Sorry.
Next question. A teacher working with a reluctant group of boys in a dance lesson. Any tips?
I think it's about getting yourself involved as well, especially as a male role model. Kind of showing that you don't think that dance is just for girls, which we've had a bit of difficulty with that in the past here, and that's why we've kind of stuck more to rather than trying to do something like Lindy Hop with boys. We also look at some of the professional GCSE dance, which is things like Christopher Bruce's One Song or Ghost Dance, doing that with girls, which is a pity really. We are trying to branch out dance a little bit more, but at the moment we only do it in year 7 for boys.
All right, okay. So in terms of curriculum then, what did the girls dance across Key Stage 3 or?
Yeah, the whole of Key have 2 units of dance a year, and Key Stage 4 they have they can choose a dance option, and also they have the dance GCSE as well.
Last question from me that I can think of at the minute. What are you doing with regard to assessments in national curriculum lessons?
What are we doing?
Yeah, are you still using levels?
We are still using levels whole school, but we've kind of trying to move away from them. So we've created like a assessment type grid that looks at different core strands, we've called them, and it's things like leadership, analysis. There's even character, so how involved you get, how much effort you put into it, and there's 2 others that can't put my. But we basically look at those and they get a grading from bronze, silver, gold, platinum, crystal, diamond or something. There's 6 different levels, which we just kind of brought that in to start today, this half term. So I'm not sure what we're doing whole school next year. Keep the levels because we have to do that in terms of when we're doing reports and things, and also trying to integrate something new as well.
Okay. So I did say the last question. So in terms of dance assessment in dance, then what kind of, obviously you can do your assessment and so on there. Any other tips in that respect?
For formative or summative or both?
Yeah, either or, yeah.
Well, we often for like your peer assessment and things, something I often do is say, right, you're going to watch your friend's performance, you paid a £5 for it, okay, these are all the things that should be in there, or often I get them to tell me what we should be seeing in the performance, and then after they've watched it, I'll say, right, was everything there, are you going to pay the full £5, are you going to ask for a refund of some of your money because some of it wasn't there. We use that quite a lot, which I quite like. Also, they can often create their own criteria, and then they'll give it to a peer, and we use mini whiteboards quite a lot, tick across whether they've done it or not. We're always giving them something that they're looking for, because otherwise you just kind of get, oh yeah, it was good. And then you're like, well, we need to expand on that a little bit more, so always give them kind of something that should be looking at relationships. Have they got things like canon in there? Have they got unison? Are they using things like mirroring? If so, they're performing well, and just giving them a kind of structure.
Okay. Any questions, anyone?
No. Seeing as you're a dance specialist, do you do much demonstration yourself within the class?
Do I? Yeah, I'll often do warm-ups and things with them, but it's not necessary. Like, we've got other members of staff who will kind of lead a warm-up, but they won't actually do anything. So it could be things like walking around the room, looking for space. Like, we're going to alter the level now. Now we're going to alter the speed. When you're coming towards someone, almost act as if you're colliding and move off in the opposite direction. So you can do it verbally. You don't have to be there. I think as well, we only have 15-minute lessons, so as it gets further on into the theme of work, we often give them just a bit of time to recap what we did last lesson.
Okay.
Do you work in John's old school, John Tate's?
Yeah, I do.
Were you witness to his Skype dance off that he was doing?
Yeah, I was involved in that with the people from America.
Just I haven't mentioned this to the students. Just quickly explain to them what was going on there, what happened.
Oh yeah. Well, basically, John, who used to work here, got in touch with a guy, Matt, it was called, from America, and he was quite eager to have a bit of a dance-off between our schools. So we set up kind of a criteria for what they needed between us. And then it was our dance academy students, because we have a dance academy on a Wednesday after school. They kind of put together their own pieces. Most of them were kind of street dance or kind of commercial poppy songs. And then yeah, he called us up. We Skyped after school, and we had about 4 groups on our side dance, and then 4 groups on his. And we had like a voting system on our phones where we could put a vote into the website, and then we saw who won. So it was our school. But it was really good experience, and he actually did it with one of his classes, and there was boys there as well, and it was really good. Their kids are really American, pretty much. They're like, "Oh my God, this is awesome!" Ours are a bit, but it was really good experience, and they really enjoyed it.
Okay.
But that was really
Cool.
Brill, thanks very much for giving up some of your time this morning, and enjoy the rest of your day.
cool. You too. Good luck with your dance. I hope that's helped.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.